Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be my review of this knife, and this is the Tactile Knives Bear. And so this is a new version of the Bear in G10. So rather than being a titanium handle like the previous versions were, this has just a G10 handle. So it's what you might call a shadow pattern in traditional knives, which means that there is no bolster, no metal liners, just covers. Now, obviously, this is not traditionally constructed. It has screws and, again, the modern materials, but it is a slip joint and it has a pretty classic design to it. So really, the only things that make it not traditional are the screws and then again, that synthetic handle. So the Bear is a model that's been around for a while, and I have done some videos on it. I ended up either giving away or selling the Bear that I had, and when I saw that they were doing these G10 versions, I decided to pick one up from Tactile Knives because I thought that this knife in particular was really well suited for a lightweight version, because the Bear itself is already a really slim, lightweight knife. So if you see here, it's very thin and pretty, not too tall in the handle or the blade. So it's already light in the titanium version, but then when you make it G10 here, it's even a little lighter and just a really kind of unobtrusive carry knife. So I wanted to pick one up. The other reason is because I've been really enjoying pens in general recently, doing a lot of journaling and stuff like that. And tactile pens, tactile turn pens are some of the first that I have gotten into and some that I still use and really enjoy. So for example, this is a G10 mini bolt action pen from Tactile Turn. So this is the green G10. Little tip on these, on this particular color, it really kind of looks a little bit more green, a little bit less grayish if you put a little oil on it, and it really has kept that, so I do recommend doing that. But I just thought that it would be cool to have a little duo here of a G10 Tactile Turn bolt action pen and then the G10 Bear. And so the other thing with this is that it is a made in the USA slip joint. So there's not a whole lot of modern slip joints that are made in the USA. And it came in at what I think was a pretty reasonable price range too. So this was around $180, $175 maybe, if I remember correctly. And that is kind of in line with something like the American Blade Works slip joint. Now the American Blade Works is in titanium, so that probably gives you a little bit more value in the way of materials, but they're really right around the same price range, and they both have Magna Cut blades and are kind of a similar size. The Bear is a little longer and a good bit thinner, but similar size, just kind of like a classic slip joint size. So I thought that it would be a really interesting comparison, and I'm always happy to see more USA-made modern slip joints. I do think that it's a good value even with the G10 handles because it's just really nicely made. So it's not quite like something like a Jack Wolf Knives where everything is super flush. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you can see some light through the handles on either side of the back spring, when you look through there. So it's not like super duper ultra flush like a Jack Wolf Knives knife would be, but it is really well made. It has great action. I think that the pull is about perfect. It's maybe a 6, something like that, a little stronger than a Swiss Army knife, but really nice, smooth action. Now I have carried and used this a good bit, so it might have broken in a little bit, but you can hear that it has nice walk and talk. Also not quite as loud on the close, but that is because it does have a stop pin, which has a pretty big effect on the sound of a slip joint closing. Now it is a little off center, but on slip joints I prefer, if they're going to be off center, to be off center towards the show side, because generally you're kind of pressing towards the pile side when you're opening it. And speaking of off center, I have a couple higher end, not the highest end custom or handmade Barlow knives, traditionally made Barlows, and they're both, or all I should say, off center, and probably more so than this. So that's just kind of a little bit of a comparison point for you. And then as for the opening, it has these little kind of long pulls. You could certainly put your nail in there and use to open, but I don't think, I mean, maybe some people do, but I never do. I only ever pinch it open, and it pinches open very easily. Once open, it is nice and solid. I haven't had to adjust the pivot at all. And it just, you know, has nice action, no blade wrap because of that stop pin, no blade play. And then as for the design, if you're not familiar with the Bear design, it is kind of its own design. I wouldn't say that it's a super direct comparison or, you know, inspired by any particular traditional knife pattern. But I think the closest thing, and especially I think this orange G10 makes it even more so, is just like a sod buster, so a peasant knife, whatever you want to call it. Just because it has kind of a similar shape to it with this handle. It's got, you know, a clip point blade, which sod busters more commonly are drop points, but it just kind of, that's the closest thing I think that I would consider it to be. But again, I don't think that it is really directly inspired by any traditional knife pattern. But for me, it fits well in the hand. You know, it's pretty much a full 4-finger grip. You know, this finger is right towards the end there, and so is my pinky, but I haven't had any trouble in use. And honestly, pretty much always when you're using a knife for real, you're using it more like this, and it's perfectly comfortable like this. So I do like the handle. There is, you know, the classic machining of the tactile kind of lines, if you will. So it does have some grip to it there. It's not super grippy. It's not like Peel Ply G10 or anything like that, but it is a little grippy. And I wanted to mention it does have a lanyard post. It came with a lanyard, and I took it off. So you can definitely put a lanyard on there, but you can also take it off. And the reason I took it off is because it is so thin. You know, it's a really unobtrusive carry. I even have actually carried this in my wallet. I carry like a little pouch. It's a Katadyn something. But basically they're a maker on Etsy that makes zipper pouches and stuff like that out of wax canvas, and I really like it. I've carried it in that. And so I wanted to say that this being so slim, it really kind of reminds me of the Victorinox Alox Bantam. So the regular Bantam is kind of the same width as any other single layer Swiss Army knife, but the Alox Bantam is really, really thin. And now it is a little thinner, it seems, than the Bear, but they're kind of similar in width. And so, you know, that's a good kind of comparison for you, I think, that you can carry this really, really easily, have a nice, nicely made and also nice to use slip joint. It's not super scary or anything like that if you need to have, that's a concern for you. And it is ground really nicely. These have a good thin blade stock and then are ground nicely also. So, you know, you've got a Magna Cut blade, can't go wrong with that. And I think just all around a nice knife. You know, so I think a lot of people probably will prefer the titanium for the fanciness of it. But for me, for a using knife, I think that this is a really good option. And again, a really, I think, fair price point for a USA made modern slip joint. So if you're looking for a lightweight, unobtrusive, modern slip joint to carry, I think that the Tactile Bear and G10 is a good option. They do have other colors also. So I think there's a micarta and then another G10. So if you're interested, grab one. Definitely let them know that you heard about it from Knife Thoughts. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell and select all if you like videos like this. And go to knifethoughts.com and subscribe to my email newsletter so you can get all the latest knife thoughts. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.